Welcome to the Legend of Podcast Trails Through Trails, the podcast where we play through the long-running Trails series chapter by chapter, game by game. I'm your host, Lex, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Matt, and I use he, him pronouns.
And this week, we're blazing a trail through the second half of the prologue of Trails in the Sky, first chapter.
It really is a great sign when even the prologue takes 2 episodes. We're going to be at this for a minute.
I mean, some people say the whole first game is a prologue. I don't agree, but people say that. And I guess technically all of Sky is a prologue to the whole rest of Trails.
All of these games are the prologue to the next arc that's going to happen. Anyway, this second half of the prologue was jam-packed, so we've got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's meaty. It's meaty.
I was going to do, like, what have we been up to, but it's literally been...
A day.
12 hours since we last spoke, so...
Like, I went to bed, Matt did daytime things, and then I got up, I did my day, and now we're recording again. It's been literally 24 hours since we started the last episode.
I wrapped on recording the last episode, had lunch, went to the gym, and then sat down and played Xenoblade Chronicles X for an unreasonable amount of time. Is that filling out a map? It's the ding boy thing that Chase always talks about.
Yeah.
Chase of video game podtimism. Shout out.
Yes, shout out.
It's just ticking boxes and running around and things go bing when you do the thing. It's very good. And then I had some dinner and took a break from that and said, I'm going to play Trails. And I sat down and then immediately my brain said, it's time for bed. Go to sleep. You can't absorb a second world today, please.
I have also been filling out a map because I did play some Civilization 6. I occasionally get into the zone and decide to just play. And a lot of that is restarting my map over and over until I find a starting place I like, and then playing until usually around the time that I filled out the map, I start to get, like, I found everything. Once I'm like, I've scouted out everything there, I get bored usually. But so I've been doing some of that. So a very different kind of filling out the map, but also still filling in my world map. I started trying out the Netherlands this time, so that was fun. But haven't really done that much else in the last 24 hours that I haven't reported on already.
Imagine that. Well, in that case, should we just bite the bullet and dive straight into this video game?
Yeah, video game.
Let's do this thing!
So, where we left off, as a reminder, Cassius, the dad of our dynamic duo, was called away to work for something that seems serious, but that he's not telling us the details of. And so he piled all his work onto his children. And where we pick back up, we are at the airport or landing port, seeing him off onto his airship. Because we don't really have buses or taxis or any way except walking through trails full of monsters to get from place to place. But we do have airships.
This is the airship Lind?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out when the remake comes out how they pronounce it, but I'm just saying Lind.
That's exciting. We're going to find out how right or wrong we are in but a short few months.
But so many things, yeah.
I will say, this airship, though, I love its chunky little design. It makes me think of Capsule Corp from Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. Big, round, squat machines. I love it. And there's so much animation of the ship as it sort of preps and takes off. It's clear they love airships.
Oh, they do. And this is actually a funny thing throughout Trails is that there's usually a kind of technology that an arc is focused in on. So, for example, Cold Steel trains are a big deal. They have cars in Crossbell kind of thing. And often it's like their whole animation budget went into this airship taking off, or like these cars chasing each other down the street, or this really cool train. And I actually, like, I'm not being sarcastic. I love how they're like, all of our animation has to go into these mechanical transportation devices because they're really excited about them. And I think that's great.
Yeah, for the most part, they're really exact about making the machines believable, which is interesting for a game that's about technology where everything's run by magic rocks that you find in the ground. Yeah, they love trains, they love other vehicles eventually. For now, you've got radios, you've got stopwatches that cast magic, you've got healing stations that just plug your pocket watch in and it rewinds it, I think is what we went with.
That's what we said, yeah, the winding station.
The airship, I really enjoy it. I'm sure we'll get to see it again. It's got a name. I was very impressed. Again, for like such a small-scale game to begin with, it's really pouring the effort into making it distinct and unique at every turn.
I won't say specifically about whether we'll see this airship again or not, but This game is called Trails in the Sky. Airships seem to be pretty on theme. And just as a fun detail, he's headed to Grand Cell, which is the capital city. They do say as he's leaving, they announce this is bound for Grand Cell.
I love a capital city because the hometown, rural bumpkin land, I assume, in scale, if that's how much stuff's going on in a tiny nowhere town, I'm excited to see what the capital looks like someday.
There's also, you can, when you look at the map of the Burl, which I can't remember if you got in this chapter or not, but soon you'll have access to it. And Grand Cell is actually quite close to Rolent, the city. It does, I did actually, when I was running around exploring, I actually made it down to the gate. There's checkpoints between each region, and I got to the checkpoint that borders on the capital city, but I couldn't go through it.
Actually, I did the same because once I'd skidded out of town to the first available battle, dragged my corpse through it, and then run back to heal again enough times that I could confidently get through 2 battles in a row, I just sort of ran the gamut of the highways and stuff that you can explore at that stage, because I realized I'd missed some of the side quest stuff already at that point, so I was a lot more determined to test the limits of what I was able to get to. And it's like, Grand Cell, that's a whole other city. Can I get there? And then, the last minute, they're like, no, you need... Estelle basically is like, oh, dang, I forgot to bring my passport.
Pretty much, which is funny because you need a passport to travel within the country, not just travel to other countries. It's funny because it's not like you're traveling into a different nation or a different, like, no, it's just other regions. It's just to go. It's like if I live in Toronto, and it's like if I was going to Ottawa, I needed to, or to Montreal, they're like, we need to bring you through customs first.
It's a little odd, but they love a gate in Liberl. For the liberal country, they're very liberal about gating progress through their nation.
So. I mean, in fairness, as we'll learn more about later in this section, in this prologue, they've had reason to tighten up national security in recent memory. I guess I can't be too harsh on them for that. But we'll get there soon. We'll get there within this episode. That's not some far off thing coming up. But for now, we're just at the airport seeing our dad off. Estelle has the option to ask him to bring her home a souvenir. And he's like, hey, this isn't for pleasure, it's for work. But I'll try. I'll think about it.
I absolutely did the same. And I was like, Dad, bring me a present when you go away, because that's just a parent's prerogative. How stingy are you, Dad, that you're traveling on like pennies a day, Mira a day, and you can't afford the embellishment of a snow globe or something? Do you really need that much travel wine? Right?
Travel wine and travel whiskey. Apparently he also has some whiskey in his collection. But Estelle comments something about how Cassius has always been away more than he's at home, which is kind of a sad little comment. She doesn't dwell on it too long, but nobody disagrees with her about that. Clearly he's out there working a lot. He has a lot of work trips. But then they got to rally because it's time to take over all of his work.
Doing whatever it is he does.
Whatever he does. Shira is taking the harder jobs that Cassius left behind. I can't imagine what Cassius' schedule looks like. We had a full plate of work to do, and apparently this is just the easy shit, and he's also got like a whole slate of hard jobs that Shira has to do. What is his schedule? How is he going to fit all this stuff in?
And why does his work run such a wide gamut, from odd jobs that a 16-year-old can do to stuff that only a hardened bracer can possibly achieve?
Yeah.
Who else is... There's one bracer that they keep mentioning...
Ridge.
That she's going to dump the work on. Is that guy just doing nothing?
Yeah, I think he kind of slacks off. And then Ina's running the reception, so she's busy because she's got to deal with all the people who come in being like, I need help, I lost my shiny rock. Anyway, there's like 3 people who work there. It's a hard time. We head out of the airport because we gotta go do all this work. I talked to the airport reception, whatever it is, guy again. He's got more gross comments. This time he's saying that some girl he saw is an 83 and they're off to a good start. I'm guessing he's scoring her on being hot, but like, why? Anyway.
Yeah, it's either he's scoring her out of 100 or he has at least that many categorizations of types of women.
I don't know which is worse. But as we get into, there's a funny note, as we get into, like, Rolent proper, the 2 kids we had to rescue yesterday are now running in giant circles around the town, and if you talk to them, which should be hard because they're running fast, they're pretending to be Cassius. They're playing bracers, and Luke, the troublemaking kid, I think, is pretending to be Cassius, and Pat is like, stop chasing me! I guess he's the monster that Cassius has to take out or something. I'm not sure he agreed to playing that role, but it's a cute little note, and I like that you get these little details, because that absolutely feels like that's what a kid would do, right? You see something really cool, and then the next day you and your friends are playing out the thing. Now, in real life, it's probably something you saw in a movie, and not the guy who really saved you from a monster yesterday at the ancient ruins on your back door. It totally feels natural, and I like that.
Fair enough to celebrate when you literally had a life or death situation the day before. And also good on their parents for letting them out of the house at all at that point. I think I tried to catch them to see what they had to say, and they were quite hard to pin down, so I was like, maybe you just can't talk to them. I was okay with that because Luke's a jerk.
He is a jerk. He must be learning that from his parents. Or he's learning from this reception guy, I guess. Maybe he's a bad influence on these kids. Because God is a woman. Where are they learning to hate women? Anyway.
You will believe. But you'll also believe that Ina has some work ready for us. We need to go to a farm.
Yes, there are 3 jobs and 2 are optional. I don't know if these are the ones that you missed, the side quests, but the side quests that I got, they're pretty quick. One is that you need to get a sparkly walk. Some kid lost a shiny rock. And one is that there's a monster on Milch Main Road, which is on the way to the farm, and needs to be exterminated. But the big quest that we have is we need to go to this farm where a friend of Joshua and Estelle's presumably from Sunday school, lives, because they have a monster issue. Oh, for the record, when people say Sunday school in this game, it's not like real world Christian Sunday school where you go and learn about the Bible. It's kind of like their version of public school. Now, the Zamurian education system is still a big mystery in a lot of ways. No matter how much you know about it, it doesn't make sense. But you go to Sunday school to learn like math and history, not like scripture.
Yeah, education is deeply tied to the church, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I've definitely had scenes in the games where you walk into the classroom off the side of the chapel, and it's not Idios is a woman, you'll believe God is a woman. It's more like 1 + 1 is 2. It goes unexplained in the later games, so I'm glad it's also not really explicitly explained early on either, so everyone's in the same boat as me no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm sure there will be times when we talk more about the education system, because we see it's throughout all the games, but it is interesting. There's a lot of the centralization in this world is based around the church, which isn't a crazy idea that it's a centralizing force, because it operates throughout different countries, but you'll see even in places that are really rural, where people live out on farms, once a week all the kids will come into town to, do their day of Sunday school, and that's where you learn all the things you learn in school, and then you go back to the farm for the week. I found it interesting, and I'm sure we don't really go into it much here, but just so you know, when we were in Sunday school together, it's like when I was in first grade. So, the 2 quests I got, the kid wanted his shiny rock back, and I found it in the sewers. That was pretty simple. And I killed a monster on the Milchmaid Road. It was called like a pine plant. I don't know. It was like a plant with like plant tentacles. It was kind of weird, but nothing crazy.
I think those were the 2 that I missed because I went straight to the farm.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just roaming about, and that was sort of the first one I was pointed towards, so I went there first. So unfortunately, I didn't get to find a shiny rock, but the kid was still hanging out in the back alley just talking about how he lost it, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Sorry, kid.
I did go to the farm. Also got a jump scare because they said, oh, Teoh needs us at the farm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Knowing Teoh as a character in the future games, I was like, oh, is this... No, it's just, for the first time in history, the same name has been used twice in an RPG.
This comes up multiple times in these games where they'll clearly they were like, we really liked that name. We shouldn't have wasted it on a bit player, so they use it again. And it is confusing. But yeah, Teoh, this is not Teoh from the Crossbow games, if you've played those or heard about those. No, this is Teoh Purzel of the Purzel farm. And yeah, we gotta go and help out our family.
Head to the farm and it's like, what's going on?
I think a monster is eating their crops. Basically, they keep coming at night and eating their crops and stuff. So we decided to do a stakeout to stay until nighttime and catch them in the act, catch them red-handed. So while we're waiting around for nightfall, Teoh and Estelle have a chat in Teoh's room, little girl time. Apparently Joshua's really good with kids and the kids love him. And this quickly turns into being like, yeah, of course all the girls are crazy about Joshua. And it's really funny because it's like little kids liking someone and girls being romantically interested somewhat, those aren't necessarily the same. That Venn diagram isn't necessarily just one circle. It doesn't exactly translate. You can be great with girls and awful with little kids, or vice versa.
It really feels like he's being painted with the husband material paintbrush.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, under duress, it seems like dealing with the kids
Mhm.
because they are hyperactive children.
Yeah, they have a whole farm to run around and play, I guess, that gets you it gives you a lot of energy. You work up
6
some...
days of the week. 6 days of the week, they're just sprinting full pelt nonstop, and then they go
Exactly.
learn for like 4 hours.
In this little chat, Teoh is talking about what a catch Joshua is and how a bunch of girls have apparently asked him out. Estelle has no idea. And Estelle's immediately like, oh, I know he can be secretive, but it's just cruel of him not to tell me this. It's pretty funny in a weird way, because Teoh clearly thinks that there might be something between Joshua and Estelle, and Joshua is just like, oh my god, I can't believe he's keeping secrets. Why would he keep that from me?
Estelle is deeply invested in finding out this information, but not for any personal gain. She's just like, oh, something I don't know. How
Yeah.
exciting. Yes, we both are really invested in the fact that he's interested in other girls, ?
Yeah.
Also, under what criteria is he a catch? Because of the very little we know about Joshua...
He's got beautiful black hair, Matt. He's got beautiful black hair.
He's got beautiful black hair and amber eyes, and he plays the harmonica real good early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells Estelle when she's wrong,
It reminds her of all the things she has to do.
which is a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like, hey, here's what you're currently stuffing up. Don't forget this, don't forget that. This is the wrong choice. And everyone's just like, oh, swoon. Okay.
To be fair, I'm not sure we've met another teenage boy in this town yet. So it also is possible that if you're interested in boys and you're in Joshua's age group, he's kind of the only real option.
It's a market scarcity issue.
No shade to Joshua. Like, he seems like a nice kid, but I'm like, he's a 16-year-old boy. So on many levels, that's not going to appeal to me. I also think he's like nice. It's very weird to be going on about why everyone's swooning over him. It feels a bit much.
I guess in an era where the height of technology is either a pocket watch that casts magic spells or airships, the harmonica apparently really slaps romantically.
It really does.
That's about all he knows how to wear like a denim vest and play the harmonica. Ladies love him.
He can also stab things twice in a row.
He can stab twice as many times as most people.
Yeah, it's real good.
Pretty cool.
But you get a funny comment from Teoh here. She goes, it's a wonder that you haven't fallen for Joshua yet. And Estelle goes, huh? Why would I? Just after that, Joshua's like, Estelle, it's time to go out and do our monster killing thing. And Teoh goes, oh, Joshua has his work cut out for him. And I find it's very strange that this is the consensus around town, seemingly. They look at the Bright family, and their immediate thoughts is, yes, these adopted siblings are eventually going to get together.
Yeah, it's an odd consensus. I feel like, generally speaking, it's accepted that you should look outside the family in the first instance.
Yeah.
And that probably counts for adopted family as well.
Yes. And I do know, like, them being at age 11-ish when Joshua was adopted, they do say that part of when you're raised together under the age of 5 is when you develop the instinctive repulsion that you have against siblings.
Mm.
They've noticed this in, like, other places where children are raised communally. They will have trouble then. They'll never want to get together later because they get this repulsion from a very young age. I guess they're past that age, but also, I mean, it's less common for people to get adopted as teenagers than as babies, but it's not as though it's not a thing, and you can still consider these people siblings.
Yeah, and if you consider it from a realistic perspective, they met right before hitting puberty.
True.
For the both of them.
That is true.
And, it's kind of sweet that despite that, Dad says, this kid is part of the family. And Estelle says immediately 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And just locked in, I have that bond with you. No warm-up necessary. That's nice.
It is.
But also, maybe she's just thick as a brick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of sweet too.
We actually get a scene talking about that. In terms of that sweet dynamic, like that sweet kind of acceptance, right after this, right before they go to the mission, Estelle immediately confronts Joshua to ask if he's keeping secrets from her. Like, it seems she's really bothered by what Teoh just said about this girl thing. And Joshua goes, where's this coming from? Which, no, he doesn't say no. He says, where's this coming from? He's like deflecting. And Estelle, and I actually wrote down what she said.
Yeah. Who told?
Since you came to live with us, we've always done everything together, right? Even though we've had our fair share of fights, they're all good memories for me now. And what I mean to say is, I've come to think of you as family in every sense of the word. And Joshua goes, Estelle. And Estelle goes, so, if there's ever anything on your mind you want to talk about, I'm available to lend an ear. You know, about things like, and she blushes, she goes, trouble with your love life and whatnot. And then she gets kind of embarrassed and flustered and overwhelmed by the sincerity. And she's like, well, it's time to kick monster butt. And she walks away with anime sweat drops. It's kind of an interesting little scene because at first you think it's meant to be like, oh, Estelle's jealous or angry about this, but instead you get the impression by the end that she's upset at the thought that Joshua feels like he can't confide in her. Which is interesting when you consider their past and the fact that Joshua was clearly a closed-off kid as an 11-year-old in the brief bit we saw of him, and now they're quite close. There's clearly been a lot of work done on this relationship, even if it just seems like Estelle bulldozed her way through everything. It makes you think about how this trust has been formed over these 5 years.
It also makes it clear this is like an instant panic for Estelle. Like, she worked so hard to like break down his barriers in the first place, to find that there's still barriers of any kind left. She's just panic mode. What's going on?
Yeah.
I thought we fixed this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
Why do you have an internal life? Why are you doing this to me, Estelle?
And it's interesting.
But in a very sweet and...
Yeah. It's interesting, though, pairing that with the fact that Cassius is apparently away all the time and has been away all the time constantly, that these two, mixed with the fact they've done everything together, leads to the idea that they spent, basically, Estelle was alone with Joshua constantly. And, like, a lot of the, obviously, not to underplay Cassius's role in being their dad. Obviously, even though he travels a lot, he's still an involved, loving dad. But he's clearly been away a lot, which implies that a lot of the work, like, emotional work that's been done has been, like, Estelle and Joshua together growing up and dealing with all of that. And it makes you kind of wonder how much of the work of getting Joshua to let down his barriers and to trust and to open up and to feel like he's really part of the family, feel like he can call Cassie's dad, all that stuff. How much of that Estelle was actually the driving force behind, if she was the one with him constantly and Cassius was away a lot. And we don't have like any clear answers on it, but it kind of makes you think.
And Estelle is all action, no thinking by nature. We've already seen broadcasted here, which means that to deal with all feeling, no action Joshua, she would have had to really change gears, sort of get on his level. And you do kind of see a different way she interacts with him a lot of the time compared to others, or even just in front of other people.
Yeah.
It's like very locked in, checking in, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's great. Also, just to note, I love the little anime expression stuff on top of that.
Yeah.
It's a great shorthand for exactly kind of the tone of delivery, which I'm sure before this sort of second pass at the translation was even more helpful to just nail what you're meant to be reading into the scene. The writing is now strong enough, it doesn't need that, but it's just nice. It's nice to kind of have it reinforced, and it's a touch that it's very nostalgic for me, going back to the old RPGs that I played in my younger RPG days.
Yeah, it is good. As Estelle wins away with those anime sweat drops, Joshua goes, ... secrets, huh? And it's like, okay, Joshua's mind clearly went somewhere else when Estelle first was like, do you keep secrets, Joshua? Clearly their minds were not both going to the girl's place.
Yeah, I mean, only the night before he was talking without talking to his dad out on the porch while dad was drinking wine again.
Of course.
They had a whole unsaid conversation about his deal and what is and isn't known and isn't resolved. Whereas Estelle's just like, are you smooching without telling me?
Now it actually is mission time. We had that confrontation in the hallway when it was supposed to be mission time, but now it really is. And basically, we're going to sneak up on some monsters and take them out. We walk around looking to see where they are. We get some fun dialogue about how different regions have different stories they tell kids about, like, where babies come from. Because Estelle points out that, like, she learned that kids come from Cabbage Patch, right? Cabbage Patch Kids. That's what she was raised on, the Cabbage Patch Kids. That's not where Joshua was told babies come from. I think he says where, but I did not write that down. Or says what their story is.
Delivered by an angel?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was like a take on a stork, but it was that kind of version of folk story. Yeah. It was a kind of a cute little world-building concept.
It is kind of nice. When we know that this is basically a monotheistic world, everyone's going to the same church, which runs the same education system, so we're all getting sort of the same info download as kids, but still there's like all the distinctness to the different regions and from us, so it's not just like, oh, this one has this country's thing. It's like, no, we know that, and also angels deliver babies. That's just regular. Saying stork is no better for sure, but it's just like, oh yeah, it's angels or it's the Cabbage Patch, the two options.
One thing that keep in mind, but we see this going forward, is that while it's not exactly monotheistic, because while the Septian Church has one god they worship, they're very open to people having like other gods or other spirits or animistic forces or whatever that they follow as well. It kind of makes me wonder, because I mean, when you think of Japan, right, they have Shinto and Buddhism and Taoism or whatever. People practice multiple faiths there, and it's all pretty respected. And I don't know whether it's a reflection of that we see in here, or they very deliberately decided that, like, yeah, people can have cultural traditions and the traditions of this central church and follow them all at the same time, and it's fine. You'll see people who are like, yeah, our region, also tends to the spirits of our ancestors, but we also worship the goddess or the wind or the fire spirits or something. It's fun, but we're totally off topic now, so we should probably continue with the monster mission.
We've got to keep poking around some cabbages to make sure there's no monsters or babies to be found.
Yeah, and we find some monsters, some baby monsters and a big monster. These are crop munchers, which is a name.
That's what it says on the tin.
It sounds kind of dirty in a weird way. We beat them up, and then we get a little scene where Estelle gets two dialogue choices, but they both lead to the fact that she doesn't want to kill the monsters. I guess they're cute. I think we've been killing monsters this whole time, but she doesn't want to kill these ones. And Josh was like, well, obviously we got to kill them. Like, that's how you deal with things. And then the Purcell family is like, no, I think they've learned their lesson. We can let them go. They'll be scared and they won't come back. Joshua...
Yeah.
I mean, you're the client, so if you say so, but are you sure? And they say sure. So they let the monsters go. They scurry away. Because it's so late, Joshua and Estelle kind of stay the night. And they have a conversation in the guest room that I love. I think this is such an interesting conversation. Basically, Joshua has this self-loathing that he reflects on. And this is kind of the first time we've really seen Joshua open up. He says he hates the fact that he didn't feel any compassion or desire to not kill them. And whereas Estelle and the Purcell family all felt some kind of compassion for these monsters. And Josh was like, even now I don't feel that. And I kind of hate myself for that. He says, it's at times like these that I really begin to loathe myself. It's almost as if there's something wrong with me as a person. Haha, maybe some part of my heart is broken or something. It's interesting because when I'm watching that scene, yeah, Joshua's being the practical one and everyone else is ridiculous, but actually Joshua, he admires the fact that there's this empathy and compassion of what you might consider weakness in all these other people who look at these little monsters and are like, oh, we don't have to kill them, because he doesn't feel that way and he hates himself for that. And Estelle immediately scolds him for saying this about himself. She says, do not say that about yourself.
Not in my house, even though it's someone else's house currently.
She never wants to hear him say he's broken again. I spent the last 5 years with you. I know your strengths and weaknesses better than even you know them. And so don't you dare ever say that again. And Joshua apologizes. And then she accepts his apology, and she says that she was still happy to hear him say how he felt and confide in her. So this comes back to that conversation they had before fighting the monsters, that he opened up to her. And I wrote down more, too. She goes, your real problem, Joshua, is that you always try to keep your feelings locked up inside. Whenever you're troubled or worried, you just go around with this nonchalant look and try to fix everything by yourself. That's a little upsetting for someone who's supposed to be your family. And Joshua kind of gives a sad face, and she goes, Joshua, you were able to lay bare your own weakness today. You learned to trust in someone other than yourself, and for that, I'm happy. And Joshua goes, I'm amazed you can stand there and just say something that embarrassing. And Estelle goes, I've got a whole lot more where that came from. And I love this conversation. I love so many things about it. I think it shows for the first time that while Joshua might be like the brains of the duo, Estelle has all the emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Even if she's not sitting there talking about what she notices, whatever, we can see she has all this emotional intelligence. She's the well-adjusted one.
They really do counterbalance each other in a great way, just kind of across the board. He's the strategic thinker. She's the actor. He does short-range combat. She does long-range. He's strong in magic where she's not. She can start a conversation with strangers. He can make plans for when and where they're going to meet up next time.
Yeah.
They really work well as a team.
Yeah, and it's interesting because not that relationships are like a contractual exchange, but we've seen what Joshua does for Estelle, right? We've seen he keeps her on track, he stays organized, he thinks things through. We've seen what he offers, and now this is when we're seeing what she offers him, what he gets. Again, it's not a contractual exchange, like, it's a relationship. People who love each other don't need to offer each other something or earn each other's loyalty. But we now see what it is that Estelle does for Joshua, why he is so loyal to her in this way. And when you think about the idea that they've kind of raised themselves half the time for like the last 5 years with their dad away all the time, it really gives an interesting insight into what this relationship is like. And also I love the note that Estelle is not at all embarrassed about the fact that Joshua just called her a dork for being too sincere.
It's the absolute trust and comfort of the duo of them where she can say something entirely heartfelt, he can rip on her in the moment. She knows the truth of it and the love in it. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And I will say the most heartfelt, ooey gooey crap every single time. And you know I've got him already. It's great. And to get so much character in just a mission where you had to not kill some monsters and still get paid for it, it's great. We're really locking in the characters early so we can understand them at a basic level and then start to challenge it.
Already, good writing. Good character writing. It still even has the emotional intelligence here that she then ends the conversation here. She's like, anyway, we should go to bed. We're tired. And now I've said a lot of things and Joshua can't take... Joshua's at his limit for really heartfelt shit. I'm going to let him off the hook now. And Joshua does thank her. He doesn't say what it's for, but it's clearly for the sentiments she just expressed. And she says you're welcome, and it's quite sweet, and they go to bed.
It was understanding in a time before we had the term social battery.
Yeah.
I can see you're running on empty. Let's go to bed. Let's recharge.
And then we all get some much needed sleep after this late night of monster not killing and Cabbage Patch Kids. And in the morning, we go back to the city, finally report in. I really hope we let somebody know that we were staying over at the farm, because we just kind of disappeared.
I don't think they did. They just didn't go home and didn't check back in for work, and everyone seems fine with it.
I guess they're legal adults in town, but they're still too young to drink, so they're not full legal adults, but they're old enough to have a full-time job. So I don't really know. Maybe child labor laws are different from drinking laws in Samaria. Nobody's really worried. I guess they figure that if something went wrong, Estelle would make it everyone else's problem, so everyone would know. They would be able to hear her shouting from miles away.
For sure, yeah. Anyway, check in, get paid. Ina's like, well, you didn't do the job, but they're happy about it, so great.
She has some kind of interesting dialogue. The mission of Eraser is to protect civilians, uphold justice, but there's a lot of ways we can protect people, and she says there's as many forms of justice as there are stars in the heavens, and part of being a bracer is being able to discern these things. And I'm like, there's a lot. She's like got some stuff. I like Ina a lot. She's got some interesting insights, but you get the idea that part of being a bracer, or maybe this is why they're only junior bracers, is you have to get the experience and perspective to be able to make judgment calls. And obviously, it won't always be about monsters, but you can imagine bracers end up in sticky situations where you have to make a judgment call. So maybe that's part of their training.
It's also starting a fine tradition in these Trails games of the receptionists just being some of the most breakout characters every time. If you want to work the front desk at a Bracers Guild, you better have personality on top of personality. You need to be memorable. You need to be the star of the show every time you're on the screen. Ina's a great place to start. I think she's serving that poetry.
She is. I love it.
About getting paid for not doing work, and
what more
could be celebrated.
So, but anyway, she gives us our next mandatory quest. We have to transport something for the mayor, but first it's Sidequest time.
We're good to go!
So we, first there's some lights that need to be fixed. Lights on the road. And apparently the orbal lights, because everything is orbal, they also repel monsters, the ones on highways. So if one goes out, that means monsters are going to start coming onto the roads. Even though, like, when I'm on the roads, monsters are often in the middle of the road. If you're not a bracer, the monsters steer clear so you can travel between towns and stuff. And if a light goes out, it's a problem.
Yeah, it's like a series of bug zappers along the road, except instead of zapping bugs, they repel them, and instead of being electricity, they are magic.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's just how it is. So we have to go out to, is it the 5th light?
5th or 6th, yeah, I don't remember.
And they're very specific about telling you both that and the fact that you will need a code to unlock the thingo.
Joshua memorizes it immediately. Estelle's like, what?
Meanwhile, I wrote it down on a scrap of paper because when I see any kind of code in an RPG, it's like, you're going to make me remember that. I'm fully expecting every single time individually having to scroll up and down to select each number. Maybe it has too many digits to try and trick me, and I will not be truck.
Never.
I will get it right.
Good job. So we went off to do it, and you get, of course, ambushed by monsters there. You get to choose whether Estelle puts in the code or Joshua. And if you have Joshua do it, he just does it, and Estelle fights the monsters by herself. I think if you have Estelle do it, you might get extra BP. I was like, I don't care.
You do. I felt strong and powerful from having written down a sequence of 5 numbers. So I was like, absolutely, Estelle's going to do this. And I got her to jump in there. They didn't make me enter the code number by number, but they did give me a multiple choice.
Fun.
So, yeah, I do wish that I'd gotten to put in the code in full after I'd gone to all that effort to write it down and make a note.
You're hoisted by your own JRPG petard.
I was hoisted hard by my petard. And I still got to do it. I still got to do the fight as Joshua as well. And I got to do the code as Estelle, so that was nice. And I did get the bump in bonus BP bracer points to help me level up at bracer school.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually got my first one after turning in this mission.
I did too, but yeah, we got the course.
Which is nice because I did miss a couple on the first day.
Yeah. You caught up. It's good. And I forgot to do that. And then after I decided not to load my save to do it again. I couldn't be bothered. I did some grinding. I didn't want to do it again. The other mission we had there was to train some soldiers who basically at these checkpoints we mentioned at the gates. They love gates. The checkpoints, because the borough's pretty peaceful, the soldiers at these gates never really see combat. So they're all kind of sloppy. So we have to go beat them up for a bit, which is fun.
Yeah, they just say, hey soldiers, fight these teens.
Yeah.
I actually ran across this mission by accident because before properly checking the board, I'd just been running around. This was when I was running up and down the roads to see where I could go. And I got to the gates, so these gates are always so complex. So many rooms and nooks and crannies and ups and downs. So there was a lot of people to talk to. I was running around just having a chat to as many people as I could find. I did run into a guy, I believe, in like the... What do you call it? The kitchen, but for army?
Yeah.
The mess.
Mess.
Who's just says, there's this new pop-up organization in the Royal City made up entirely of people who love to fish.
Yes.
I'm kind of interested in what type of organization it is too, since I also love to fish. And I was like, well, I think based on reasoning, you can probably tell that it's about fishing.
Mm-hmm.
What was your name? Warrant Officer Graves.
Yeah.
It's a good thing it's not the Deductive Reasoning Club because I don't think he would get in.
You would not.
But yeah, I came across this mission without having to check it on the board at all.
I love that.
They're just like, hey, do you want to fight some soldiers? And I said, no. And then I saved my game. And then I said, yes.
I love it.
I've learned quickly that this combat will rock you early and hard. So I didn't want to just assume that this was a mission I was meant to be ready to take on yet.
Yeah, I think actually it's fair to say that the beginning of the game is the hardest part just because you only have 2 party members. This is true of most Trails games that in a weird way, just because the beginning of a game you have less crafts and usually you start with only 1 or 2 party members and then it gets fleshed out. Yeah, and it really makes a big difference, especially, if you have 4 monsters on the field and you're outnumbered, that's double as many people as you have. That's very different from if you have 4 people against 4 monsters or whatnot. So it does get easier when you get more people in your party. And you will soon get more people in your party.
It is a bit of a trial by fire the way they do it. They're really forcing you to learn how combat works to survive early on before you have the comfort of a full party, which, fair enough, there have definitely been RPGs where I've just kind of smashed through all the tutorials without reading, saying, yeah, I'll figure it out in context. Only to learn that there were entire mechanics in the game that I hadn't been using until 50 hours in.
Relatable.
But there is no doing that with Trails in the Sky first chapter. You will learn, you will demonstrate your learnings, and that is how you will survive.
Just like the characters, you are still being tested and learning in Bracer School.
Very that.
Just like them. This is part of Bracer School, learning combat.
And the very first learning gate in being a junior bracer at 16 is to fight the military. You fight the military, and honestly, they go down fairly easy.
Yeah, you just
it's
beat their asses.
That tough of a fight.
Yeah, no, their guns are
It doesn't say much about the state of the military for LaBelle.
But yeah, that's what happens at that gate. We go back into town. It's not time to go through it yet. We get to Orvid the Mushroom Man, who I love. He's a weirdo.
Yes.
He asks us to go find a rare mushroom. He doesn't tell us that the mushroom glows in a way that attracts monsters. Because there's a weird thing where the orbital lights repel monsters, but the sepith that the orbits are all made of attracts monsters. And I'm not sure why, but whatever.
It's like a magnet attunement thing.
I guess so. So we get ambushed the second we find the mushroom. And Estella is pretty mad that he didn't let on, and she kind of reams him out for it, which is understandable. He did make it sound like it was just a chill mushroom picking mission.
But, I mean, he also starts the whole conversation about the mission just talking out loud to himself in front of a signpost saying, I hate these goddamn bracers who are coming to help do this job for me. I bet they suck. I've pre-decided. And then he turns around and is like, oh, there are the sucky bracers that I hate already. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
But he gets his mushroom either way.
Estella's pretty grossed out that the mushroom's going to be used for cooking, which makes me wonder what she thought. Like, I get her finding a mushroom gross, but I don't understand what she thought until he mentioned that it was going to be used for as a gourmet cooking ingredient. What other things she thought? Like, did she think he was maybe recreational use? Could be, but just confused. That would also be ingested, so I'm not sure.
It's going to be either food or medication regulated / unregulated.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many other things you can do with mushrooms generally.
No.
Though Estelle doesn't really know her way around the kitchen very well, so maybe there's just a whole sets of ingredients in food that she has not yet processed into her little brain.
This is true. But Orvid tries to school her on gourmet cooking. She's not taking it. And he says one of the greatest lines in video games ever. He says, "On behalf of this mushroom, I shall turn a blind eye to your ignorance. And I want to start all my conversations with, on behalf of this mushroom."
He's a lot, this man.
He is.
Orvid. I'm glad he's due to get on an airship and fly away because I don't want to have to talk to him again. He's just kind of a hassle the whole time you're dealing with him in various different ways, and he leaves an impression just like a scar. I hope he enjoys whatever.
I think he's going to visit a chef or some sort of cooking convention or some sort of... He's like going to a place with other people who will appreciate the mushroom, unlike us buffoons.
It's the rarest mushroom, which makes it the best ingredient. Is it, though?
I don't know.
Is it edible? Is it good? Because sometimes things that are more expensive are worse.
Yeah. And sometimes things that are rare are also not edible.
But he's going to find out with his professional chef.
Yes.
We got paid either way. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Then I ran around town for a bit here, and I had some notes on the things I discovered. Because before going to the mayor, yesterday when I had children to rescue, I went to see the mayor instead. But today, when the mayor wants to see me, I'm going to play hard to get. So there's a clock tower in town. There's a plaque on it that says it was destroyed during the 100 Days War when the Empire bombarded Rolent. And if you know the dates, this is 10 years ago. Like, it shows 1192, and that's 10 years ago. And it was rebuilt about 5 years ago. I go into the clock tower, I go to climb the ladder. Estelle, instead of just climbing the ladder, she makes a sad face and then asks Joshua if he wants to climb the tower. And they go up, and there's no follow-up on this exchange at this point. I also talked to a snobby merchant who was saying she came here, but this rural town sucks. But then she mentions Calvard. And Estelle goes, "Calvard sounds familiar. Yes. Is that a store?" It's the neighboring country, Estelle. It is the neighboring country.
She got so close. Obviously excited to hear Calvard because that's where the current Daybreak arc of games are set. Also interesting knowing a few years in the future how different the world is, that at this point in history, I guess what Calvard is famous for is wooden carvings.
I don't know why that's what this woman thinks. I think she might be a scam artist of some kind.
Is wooden carvings the go-to souvenir from Calvard at this stage in time?
I don't think so.
Or is she just completely off base?
I don't think it's the thing. I mean, there might be some, like, they have art, but Calvard is like a really diverse country before we've seen it. So I think there's meant to be like a lot of cool, depending on where you go in Calvard, you could find a lot of really cool regional different souvenirs. And I don't think I've ever heard of wooden handicrafts.
Then again, this is also like a pre-information age world at this stage where there's not a lot of direct lines of communications country to country. It's kind of a period of time, much like the 1990s, where you could just show up in a place and say, this is the specialty of other place, and people would just believe you.
Oh my gosh.
This, unfortunately, is a true thing about Australian history. One of our big souvenir things was coin purses made out of kangaroo testicle sacks.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you'd find those at the souvenir stores next to the clip-on koalas. And because there was no internet, we'd say, yeah, this is the classic Australian souvenir, and we'd sell that to people. That's just who we are as a country. So maybe she's Australian. Maybe Calvard is Australia. Oh, no.
Oh, no. It's also France and the US, so it's a lot of places.
And China, ? Who knows?
Who knows?
It's a melting pot. It's New York.
Yeah, it is. No, in Canada, as far as I know, we didn't lie to people about our specialty, but when my parents were growing up, at least, apparently during the middle of summer, Americans would often drive up across Canada. This is before Pre 9/11, you didn't need a passport to cross the border between Canada and America. Times were very different then in general. But so people would come up and they would have their skis strapped to the top of the car, and they'd get out of the car and they'd be like, what the hell? Like, where's all the snow in the middle of summer? Because they thought that as soon as they crossed the border into Canada, it would be winter and they could have a skiing vacation. But at least they knew what Canada was. They didn't think it was a store. So they were ahead of Estelle.
Man, this girl, how does she get through the day? Oh, Joshua, that's
You
how.
gotta wonder if some of it is shit she just says to rear on Joshua.
The secret storyline here is that Estelle just is incredibly smart and just messing with everyone constantly. Meanwhile, last night at the farm, Joshua basically confessed to being a sociopath.
Yeah.
But they're very nice to each other. Siblings.
Yeah, it's a good time. And then the other thing I did running around town, well, I did a couple things, but the other big thing I did, I went to church and I saw Father Divine again. And he had more to say this time. He actually gave me a whole spiel.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a whole spiel. He said, "The greater the light, the darker the shadow becomes. When one's soul is touched by a blinding light, it becomes conscious of the darkness within and embraces a contrite spirit, especially those who are tormented by the sins of the past." And then Joshua closed his eyes and said, ... looking very angsty. And then Father Divine goes, "However, through this ordeal, one can understand the pain and suffering of others and reach a greater plane of insight. What's important for the individual is preparing for the future and deciding what one wants to do." And Estelle says, "Listening to Father Divine always makes my brain hurt."
I think Father Divine was trying to teach, at the very least, Joshua empathy in this moment.
Yeah, or I guess rather that even if you're haunted by something, you can use that to, like, channel it to being a good person and, like, being more empathetic and understanding, as opposed to just, like, being tormented by it all. I don't know what he's got angst about, but clearly Joshua's got angst. Okay, I do know what he has angst about. But, like, we don't know. He's clearly angsting.
But Father Divine is on it with these custom spiels for every person. He's serving sermon, yas, God, des.
Slaying.
Slay, etc. I didn't go back to see Father Divine. It's exciting to know that he's got so much to say, and that at least one of our protagonists are listening.
Yeah. I mean, clearly Estelle was listening. That's what made her brain hurt.
She tried. She didn't get the whole way through, but...
She got something. I also checked out the inn, and a few times now we've seen this girl with, like, bluish purplish hair. She's wearing a school uniform. She has a portrait, so she's clearly a person. But the thing I noticed was the innkeeper is like, "Oh my god, there's a girl from Jenna's Academy here. That's so exciting. It's such a prestigious school. It's a high school. Why is the innkeeper so excited that a girl from a fancy high school is staying at his hotel?" Like, it's not like, oh, a girl from a noble family or anything. It's not, oh, a celebrity. She goes to a fancy school. She also was chatting with Divine in the church at one point.
Which means she's also a teen who's, I guess, staying in a hotel by herself.
I think we're going to learn a bit about that very soon.
But it's very prestigious to have a high schooler at your establishment.
Well, everyone goes to Sunday school. If you go somewhere other than Sunday school, it's a big deal. I went to the mayor. Did you do anything else before going to the mayor? Because I've dominated this.
I mean, mostly I was just running around the map. I explored the gate, like I said. I found the man who's just almost figured out that there's a fishing club starting.
Yeah.
And also, I noted that all the guards were mostly complaining about their jobs. In all these games that I've played so far, I don't think I've ever heard a guard who's happy about their job at a gate.
Yeah, no.
It just seems to be like an industry standard that you have to be like, man, standing at this gate sucks. I upgraded my weapons and stuff because I will not get gaudy in this game again. I probably will, but I'm going to try real hard. I picked up the nasty ingredient from the mushroom hunt as well, and then it was time to see what the mayor wants.
And the mayor wants us to go get a big sparkly jewel.
He wants a big rock from the Big Rock Factory.
Yes.
Which is the Malgamine.
We go to the Malgamines. We gotta go.
Let's move out!
Now, I've been pretty close because when I went off-roading to grind, I got pretty close, but I didn't go in. So I'm excited to go check out the mine. And we get to the mine, and there are mine carts, and it's like one of my favorite things in video games, when you get to ride around in a mine cart. It's such a simple pleasure, but it's just delightful.
You get this very sort of simple switch puzzle at the start. It's just about going back and forth. It's a very, very simple one. It was like, jump in the minecart. Oh, it's a dead end. Why is it a dead end? This man says, flip the switch, go back. It's not really punishing you at any point. It's only a few steps. You can't really mess it up
It's just to let you ride the minecart.
It's just like you mind the minecart. But I have to say, very happy about the turbo function for this little sequence.
Yes!
Turbo!
Turbo!
The the minecarts are just a little bit slow.
Yes.
Again, it's an old game thing. It's just a bit sluggish, so it's a lot more fun to go, should I get in the minecart? Yes, fast forward.
Yeah.
Beep,
I don't think I was on it for a second without turbo on. I didn't even know that they were slow. Unless I have to click A, and at which point I'm not holding the turbo button anymore because my thing will glitch. I'm basically always holding the turbo button.
I find it a little bit hard to steer depending on the tightness of the camera angle.
Yeah,
like
sure.
in the city, until I've sort of better familiarized myself with the layout, it was a nightmare trying to run through there with turbo on because I was just smashing into stuff. Just getting used to it. Very happy to have it. And again, for me, it's on the PS5 controller that I've got hooked up to my laptop. I just get to hold down R2, and it's like a comfortable button to hold down because it's not a toggle. It's like a hold on. But I can still play the game comfortably without it. It's just, if I need to be precise or I'm navigating menus or anything, I'm obviously going to turn it off.
For sure.
But goodness gracious, it's a godsend. Every single time you get in a minecart. Which is only a few times, because after you learn this puzzle, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I sort of expected it to be
More.
the precursor to a larger minecart puzzle dungeon. Maybe we'll use that mechanic later on in the game, but we sure don't use it again here.
I do not remember, genuinely. I just like a minecart.
I feel like that kind of hitting dead ends, turning around, flipping switches could get pretty old pretty fast if you have to do it on a larger scale or for too long. So it's probably best that it's just a little snack, an amuse-bouche of minecarts.
I like that, an amuse-bouche of minecarts.
But then we get into the mine finally after our 4 to 6 minecart rides.
Yeah.
It's time to pick up the big sparkly gem, which will probably go off without a hitch.
Well, we have to find the guy who has the gem, so that's part of the whole running back and forth. We find him, though, eventually. Then, earthquake. Well, something goes wrong. There was a cave-in of some kind in the mine.
Rumble, rumble. Which he knows just instinctively without moving from the spot he's standing.
Mm-hmm.
Just at the end of a random mine shaft. He's like, that definitely felt like a cave-in type of rumble.
Yeah. It's possible that there's monsters around, because it's possible that the cave-in opened up a path for the monsters. And Joshua is like, I can smell that there's monsters in the cave. And I'm like, why can you smell them? What do they smell like?
How good is your schnoot?
It's pretty good. So we have to go around and basically we have to go kill the killer crabs that are menacing all these miners and collect them so the miners can evacuate. One of the miners just runs away immediately. He's new on the job. He's like, ah! And he's like, what, your bracers? And he's, ah! And he runs away. Everybody else stays until the rest of the gang evacuates. We do get a weird little clip of that same guy who ran away being sus after the mine. He's like, oof, that was a bracer. Damn. And then he goes on.
Probably doesn't mean anything.
That's nothing. We managed to evacuate everyone and get things sorted out, and then we can get our sparkly jewel. Estelle is so happy about the sparkly jewel, man.
It is properly sparkly. They haven't physically rendered the gem, but you do get a sparkle effect. Estelle, over the moon, she's like, this rock sparkly as fuck. Just starts running in circles with the gem.
She does. She's just like, it's so fun.
And I purposely left it running on that animation for just a minute or two while I was leaving notes, because she's having a nice time. I'm just going to catch up on my notes about this game.
It's great.
And Joshua's just standing off the side going, are you done?
Don't drop it.
You keep forgetting we're at work.
Yeah, they do mention that this is the septium ore that gets made into quartz. It's like a really big concentrated piece, and it's called Esmelas.
Where have we heard that name before?
Ugh.
My goodness, it's almost as though there was a tower of that hue and name.
It's almost like that. Now, Estelle does not lose the jewel in that the evacuation. I think we said that in the wrong order. She got the jewel before the cave-in, and she pretends that she's lost it. But she's just tricking them, which does kind of lead credence to the theory that sometimes she's just messing with Joshua by pretending to be dumb. She's like, oh no, where did the jewel go? And they're like, oh my god, Estelle. And she's like, it's right here, you dummies.
Either she's a secret, unfocused genius, or she's just a very self-aware, ditzy person who's happy to play it up.
Exactly.
Both is delightful, and
Yes.
I'm excited to find out which way it leans moment to moment with this
Moment to
woman.
moment. So now that we've evacuated the mines and we have our sparkly jewel, we can take it to the mayor. We get to meet the school uniform girl for real. She's also hanging out with the mayor. And apparently, there's the reason that she's staying at a hotel by herself is that she's doing part of a program of the school. They do I'm going to call it field studies. They go research a subject, and she's researching, doing a research project and staying in town for a few days to research something. Her name's Gisette. Mayor Klaus refers to Janus Academy as a higher education, And that's just like interesting to me because I'm always noticing
Royal Academy.
Royal Academy, my apologies, Royal Academy, because it's like 16-year-olds. So I guess general school curriculum ends around 16 maybe. It's not necessarily consistent. And then if you go to school outside of church, it's higher education.
That is interesting because obviously they became braces at 16, which means
Yes.
it's an option of school or get your forever job. I guess that's why going to high school is so prestigious.
I guess.
Because not as many people get to do it.
It's like going to university back before it was kind of expected for everyone to go to university. Which not everyone does, obviously, but it was back when most people just finished high school and then went to work, and going to university was more of a rare thing. I guess it's like that, but with high school. Which isn't crazy to me. Like, my grandmother was the first person in her family to go to high school. Not just the first woman, but the first person. And she had to go live with another family as a live-in nanny in another town in order to go to high school because she lived on a really rural farm. So kind of think of that.
Yeah, whereas this is the Royal Academy.
This is pretty fancy.
I guess being a high schooler at the Janus Royal Academy is enough to get you an appointment with the mayor of some town.
Yeah. I mean, Mayor Claus is just nice like that, I guess.
I actually had a screenshot I took from the game. I can't remember if it was about talking to her or about getting a big gem, but yes, it's part of my duties as a mayor. Not as the mayor, it's just
A mayor.
my duties as a mayor. This is just standard for all mayors to accept appointments from high schoolers because they got into high school.
Yeah.
And also, it's my job to get a big rock.
Yeah, he does clarify a bit that this is going to be the present from Rolent to the Queen for her 60th birthday, which we mentioned in the last episode. The newspaper's all about this 60th birthday. But yeah, we're gonna, on behalf of our town, she's gonna get this big sparkly rock.
While Josette's just sort of hanging out in the room, the mayor's like, thank you for the big rock. This big rock is very important, so I'm going to lock it in the safe where it'll be safe.
Yeah.
So he locks it in the safe. Again, just a little thing I like that it has a little animation for the safe.
Yes, I like that.
It's not just a blink from like an open sprite to a closed sprite, which would be fully acceptable in a game of this age.
And of this budget.
But yeah, lock up Big Rock, it's safe, all good, job done.
And then everyone kind of leaves, including Gisette. She's like, all right, I gotta go now too. And so we gotta go find our next job. Also, now I did a lost cat quest, which is kind of a staple of the series. People lose their cat a lot. And basically the way this went is that Estelle keeps scaring the cat by trying to catch it. And eventually corners it in the church. And Joshua finally gets the cat to actually not run away, because Joshua, I guess, is better with cats. I mean, Estelle does seem like a dog person.
Very dog person energy.
And I say that as a dog person myself, but she definitely has. I can see that. I like cats, though, and they like me better than Estelle, because they don't run into church when they see me.
As a cat person myself, I can understand why the approach of running full pelt at the animal was not going to work with a cat.
No.
Whereas Joshua just stopping for a second and being like, hey, come over here. At that point, any cat will be like, yeah, for sure. That's all it took. That's why they work so well together. They can solve dog problems and cat problems.
Exactly. And as it turns out, every time that Estelle ran full pelt at the cat was trying to go back to its owner, and Estelle scared it away. So I find that a funny little note. But the lady is still as glad to get the cat, even if it was also partially our fault that it took so long. And then she starts flirting really weirdly with Joshua. Estelle calls her out. It's like, why are you flirting with someone way too young? It's just a weird touch, because on one hand, it's fun that Estelle is like, you're creepy, but on the other hand, why did they need to make her be creepy to Joshua in the first place?
I actually made a specific note about this, because this moment happens 3 times in rapid succession.
Yeah.
Around this point in the game. This was the second one I actually encountered, but I did have it noted down as, Ida, do not sexualize that child.
Mm-hmm. People are weird about Joshua. And at first, like, we were just talking with Teoh, who was saying, yeah, all the girls love Joshua. And I figure they're talking about girls his age who are reasonable. And then I guess all the adult women like Joshua too, which is a lot less chill.
Black hair and amber eyes should not be that much of an aphrodisiac.
No, you all gotta calm down. Everyone needs to calm down about Joshua. But then we get our next job, which is the escort mission.
It's time to go work for the news.
We support the free press around here.
We're running a bodyguard gig for the Ace reporter and his photographer for the Libelle News that I had disclosed to me actually earlier in the prologue by the general store owner in Renon General Goods. When I got the newspaper, it was telling me, oh yeah, everyone knows about the star reporter and the star photographer who works with him at the Libelle News. That's just common knowledge.
Everyone knows.
Newspaper celebrity is not something I've really encountered in my lifetime, but maybe it was a thing.
I mean, there are famous reporters now. It's just we have TV now. And so maybe people followed print reporting more closely, or print reporters more closely when they didn't have television reporters. Obviously, there's a lot of journalists that I like, and I read a lot of journalism. It's not that they aren't renowned, but it doesn't tend to be your water cooler conversation, you know?
It's not a universal consensus by the public. It feels very like an inside baseball kind of thing. It's not something that everyone would just automatically know. But I did say it was like, oh, this is going to be the star reporter and the star photographer that I heard about yesterday at the newsagent. And then you walk in and...
He's a dick.
He's a dick.
Yeah, you have to go get him at the bar, which is always, you know, a bit of a red flag that you have to go pick up your client from the bar because he... The red flag isn't always justified, but it always raises a red flag. They're like, no, we got to get a man from a bar.
Talk to him at the bar. He's got a limp cigarette in his mouth in all of his headshot art. He starts off being referred to as unshaven man. So they're really not doing him any favors at this stage. Just is immediately like, you're the braces? You're not hot enough to Estelle.
It turns out that he specifically requested Cassius, not just because Cassius is good, but because he wanted to, like, write about Cassius or be able to make a story about Cassius, it looks like. He's also weird to Estelle specifically about her not being enough of a girl or something along those lines. Like, you're not wearing a skirt. And she's like, I am wearing a skirt, though. What are you talking about? It's very strange. And she's like, also, why does it matter?
And she makes a point of saying, these are shorts that are made to look like a skirt. Can't you tell? You should treat me like a lady. And then the screenshot I took was him saying, what do you mean, lady? There's nothing sexy about you in that outfit.
It's so weird.
He says to this
16-year-old
girl teen child.
Yeah. Who has a big stick also.
My first note was, don't sexualize that child, unshaven man. Immediately followed for me by, also don't sexualize that other child, Ida.
Yeah.
Because I walked outside and started the kitten mission immediately after having this conversation. So they actually tag along on the mission and have little comments on the quest as well.
How about that?
It's very little. He just makes a comment and is like, don't waste our time or something. Because I brought them along on this and a couple of other side quests that I guess you could have done beforehand as well.
Yeah.
It's nice that they're involved instead of just doing the normal thing where they stop existing until after the cutscene for these kind of games. They've covered all things. I wasn't excited to bring him along, but it's like, you know what? You talk bad to my girl, my sweet baby girl, and you have to run around chasing a kitten with me first.
We also pick up the photographer who's at the ornament store. She has run out of money to get her camera fixed because she bought all the cute things she saw. Niall is the journalist and Dorothy is the photographer. And Dorothy makes Estelle look like her heads have never seen a cloud. Dorothy is a total ditz.
She's an absolute space case, that girl.
Oh gosh, yes. But we get her on board, and we're escorting them to Esmelas Towers, where we went yesterday.
Time to go back to Kid Trouble Tower.
And what side quest did you do around now, by the way?
This was the point where I did the kitten hunt, and also the mushroom hunt I actually did at this point. I dragged them with me a good long way. They didn't have much to say. Mostly it just made my life worse, because they do exist in combat when you have them tagging along.
You do, although Dorothy, funny enough, can blind monsters with her camera flash.
Dorothy's always snapping photos to cause the blindness thing, whereas Unshaven Man just runs around getting in the way. I did have a couple of game overs at this point just because we got surprise attacked and we're all clumped together. And so the magic speed sitting plants just did a number. They were just...
Oh my god, I hate them.
Fire bullet barrages that just knock you back further and further and further. Yeah. So I ran around and did those two quests before then turning around to actually take them.
I think I also, before I got them, did a quest to get like some medical ingredients for Father Divine. I think I did that at some point.
Oh, yeah. I did that a little bit later on, but I did do that one as well.
I did that at some point. Okay, we can get to that later. I think I was like, wait, I might not have written that down. So we go to the tower. We find out when we get to the front of the tower, Dorothy's supposed to take some pictures, and she tries to be very serious about it and immediately falls asleep. Turns out, in order to take pictures of inanimate objects, she has to talk them up. Like, yeah, you go, like Slay Queen. It's great.
It's the only way that she can channel her artistic spirit, which is nice to know considering how many photos she's been taking in combat at this point.
Yeah.
Because you do have to get in a bunch of little fights on the run back up to Esmelas Tower. So she's just like running through combat being like, yes, armored beetle, slay, mama boots.
Get it! She's just cheering them on as she blinds them.
Also interesting that all of her time is spent taking constant photos because when you first meet her, she hits up her co-worker for money to pay for film because she'd already wasted all her money on other stuff.
This is why. This is clearly why.
This is why she is burning through film at a great rate of knots. She gets a couple of outside building shots where it was so slay, and then we're ready to climb.
And this time we're going all the way to the roof. So we go through, there's like 5 floors. The layout is pretty simple, though occasionally there's 2 sets of stairs that lead to the next floor, but only one of them will lead you the path to get to the floor after that. So it's not tensely confusing, but you do have to double back a few times if you're not following like a map. And there's no mini map, obviously.
I got very confused, as I mentioned last episode. Dungeon orienteering is not always my forte. When there's no map, even worse. And because this is such a straight up cylinder, because it's a tower, it's a lot of rotating around the edges, and sometimes there'll be bridges that are broken and you've got to cut through the middle, or you've got to this, that, or the other. You've got to go up one floor and around and back down. I got lost and I got fully turned around, and then I was like, oh, thank God, I found the upstairs. And then I found myself a floor below again.
Okay.
This is probably a good time to once again shout out that we will link in the show notes some wonderful, wonderful dungeon map content produced by the internet that will save you from going through the drama that I went through if you are similarly directionally challenged.
Yeah, you might want to be using those too going forward. I'm very sorry for your trials and
I
tribulations.
think I'm going to be bringing up another tab on my laptop, yeah. But I made it through. I got there in the end. I didn't miss a single chest because now that I know there are chest messages, it's very important to me to find every single one. I do feel a little let down that all of them are just variations on the same, like the chest is empty theme at the moment. I know it's going to expand more. I'm waiting for that first banger chest message of the game.
Get there. I believe in us.
Which I'll be sure to shout out whenever it happens.
We get to the top of the tower eventually, depending how long you get lost for. It might take longer for some people than others, but you get there. You will get there. And everyone's like, oh wow, what a nice view. And then Josh was like, you should come out of hiding. And a guy walks out from behind a pillar.
A regular man.
Yeah, he's just a guy. He's called Professor Alba. He's very nervous. He's apparently an archaeologist. He's here to study. There's a weird-ass device on the roof, and he's here to study it. And apparently he's like a broke professor, which, you know, that tracks. He has no money, so he can't hire escorts to go to dangerous places, so he just has to run away from monsters a lot. When we get to the top, he apparently figured we were robbers or monsters or something and hid. But Joshua sensed that someone was hiding, whereas nobody else did. And then we get an info dump.
That he sensed it this time, he didn't smell it.
Yeah.
I smell an academic.
I smell an academic. We ask a bit about like what it is he's trying to research, and Alba tells us that he's looking into the Septarians. And he asks, has everyone heard of the Septarians before? Estelle's like, yeah, they've been mentioned by Father Divine, and Joshua describes them as 7 treasures endowed with power and bestowed upon ancients by Aetios. And apparently that's written in scripture. These are proper nouns, the Septarians. It's capitalized. And then Alba says, it seems these ancients rule the earth, seas, and skies using powers of these treasures. It has also been written that they were even able to unlock the secrets of time and life. I get time. Like, I have time magic already. I have time magic in my pocket watch, but life? Okay. I know I can kill things, but...
That's not even an element.
Yeah, that's not an element. And then he goes, approximately 1,200 years ago, when this ancient civilization was destroyed by a mysterious calamity, the Septarians were also lost. And Niall's like, yeah, that's what the scripture says. And everyone's pretty normal about this. And I'm like, this is a big lore drop you just gave us. I guess it's common knowledge. Apparently, one of these treasures supposedly slumbers in Liberl. It's named the Oriole.
Which I immediately hated the name of. I don't like
it. Sounds
that.
like a nipple.
It sounds like a nipple. Here's our first magical MacGuffin, and it's Nipple, the god of sensitivity. I don't know.
So the Nipple treasure, apparently, this tower that we're in is one of the oldest ruins in all of Liberl. So the professor figured that, like, maybe this place, maybe it has hints about where the Nipple treasure is. And Niall says, well, that's an interesting story, but I can't run it in the paper because the Liberal News is strict about verifying sources and information. And it's like, if only that were more common. Wow. Respect.
I will admit, I had made a note here because I disliked Niall from the get-go because obviously he has a very gross introduction. But as soon as he started talking about journalistic integrity, I was like, I don't know. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of sweet. Then, you know, as soon as he says, get your knockers out like a proper woman, it'll all go away again. But in that moment, I was just, journalism, integrity.
We love a journalist with integrity. We love it.
We also love a giant, ominous doohickey on the roof of this tower.
We love a John doohickey.
There's a big thing that's some sort of orbital whatever. And it's probably
Mhm.
broken, but it's the big orbital doohickey at the top of Esmelas Tower, which we just finished delivering an Esmelas gem from a mine to the mayor.
Yeah.
And I personally noticed that those two things have the same name.
They do have the same
That
name.
was something that I noticed.
Nobody's sure what this is yet. Obviously, Professor Albus going to investigate it.
Yeah.
Everyone decides to take a breather while Dorothy takes some pictures, and you get a chance to walk around and talk to everybody. If you go talk to Joshua, Joshua says he's been feeling woozy since he came up to the roof. He's not sure why. Estelle's like, I don't think it's because there wasn't air in the tower. I think that's not, and you're not afraid of heights. So not really sure why, but he's like, I'll be okay. I just need a minute. Go talk to everyone else. Dorothy explains how photo quartz work. Like with real cameras, I immediately forget how it works, but it's a kind of quartz that makes the photo happen. I know how quartz works. I guess there's 2 quartz slots maybe, and one is for the operation of it and one is for the memory. I don't know.
I'm so excited for when magic rocks are fully and completely explained to me.
But luckily Dorothy understands how it works, even if we and Estelle don't really. Estelle's impressed that Dorothy knows how it works. She's like,
Yeah.
wow, you really are a professional. You know the tools of the trade. I talked to Niall next. I saved Professor Alba for last because I figured there might be lore with Professor Alba. And that was also pretty interesting. He said that what he really wants to check out is Bose, which is another city, because there's a story cooking there about some sky bandits.
Yes.
And he talks about what might be happening with these sky bandits. And one of the things he suggests, one of the theories, is that it might be a ploy by the Empire next door for revenge from 10 years ago. And Estelle is upset and says, that's not possible. We have a peace treaty with Erebonia. And I'm like, okay, you don't even know the name of the other country neighboring you, but you know the state of your country's relations with Erebonia. That clicks as something. Clearly there's some reason that Estelle actually knows this. I thought that was real interesting. I like that characterization that you don't know why. You know something's serious when Estelle is like, I understand this part of international relations.
When it's a piece of information that Estelle's got on lock, then it must be important.
And then I went to talk to Alba. Did you have anything else about the talk with Niall written down?
Not really. It's just that I enjoyed seeing that sort of more grounded, reasonable, positive side
Maybe
of
the
him.
alcohol is worn off now.
Maybe. Because he's still got that nasty
Yeah.
cigarette in his mouth. That
No.
hasn't changed. Yeah, he's just here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help him, goddess.
Adios. So then we go to talk to Alba. He tells Estelle that he's from the north, but not from Erebonia. She says, don't worry, I'm not from Erebonia, the Empire. And Estelle says it's okay. She goes, I hate war with a passion, but I don't hate the people of Erebonia. Which is another moment of real seriousness from Estelle, hating war with a passion. And we learn that in that war 10 years ago, Estelle lost her mother. Obviously, there's no mother, and I think Cassius mentioned at one point, like, oh, my dear wife looking down on us or something, in a joking way. But now we know why. She died in this war 10 years ago. She also comments that Joshua is like a little brother to her, but that he tries to act like an older brother, which is just a weird thing, given that they're clearly setting up a tension that's not sibling-like between them. And then she says, I'm not even sure why I'm telling you so much. I wouldn't usually tell people all this. I was like, well, isn't it nice to, have nice connections with people? Because then we get information about these characters, and that's great. So I can't complain. Anything else from the roof?
I was really hoping to get something out of trying to interact with the ominous doohickey, but it is not its time to be explained. I like sort of a bit of a view from the top of the tower. You do get that kind of simulation of being quite high up. I'm interested to know why Joshua was suddenly lightheaded. If he's not afraid of heights, maybe he's allergic to mystery devices. No, it was exciting to get to the top of the tower. I get the feeling, because there's a big, unique object there, that there'll be a reason to come back. I'm also glad that the tower's not too tall to do that, because if that was many more floors, I don't think I'd ever make it back up again, especially not without those maps.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But no, a fun little romp. It's nice to get a sense of how big a dungeon will be, to sort of know how much I have to worry about preparing going into each one, which is kind of a new experience in RPGs, like actually having to, well, it's a refreshingly old experience, having to properly prepare for a journey, because I've stopped stockpiling in games. It's like whatever it gives me is going to be enough generally, and this game says no, you have to prepare, you have to budget. That's part of this one. We've gotten our coverage at the top of the tower, we've got some more photos, and it's time to descend.
So we go back to the city. It's time to report. We get a cute little reflection scene from Estelle and Joshua after they part ways with Dorothy and Niall, basically just reflecting on what it means to be bracers and the different kinds of work. And it's just like an interesting little tidbit where this is part of what being a bracer is, because there's a lot of different facets to it. So then we go to the guild. and report in, and we're giving our report. We've gotten our BP in time before we get interrupted, but then Mayor Klaus bursts in the door because the Esmelas gem has been stolen.
It got stole.
Could not have seen that coming.
Who would have thought? They showed it going into the safe, so obviously it was safe.
Yeah, but it didn't just get stolen. Like, they had a house robbery, like his wife and maid were tied up in the attic. Like, it was dramatic.
Tied up in the attic, which is also a thing that they gloss over very quickly.
That's traumatizing.
They were assaulted and tied up in the attic. They're fine, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, this big rock is gone.
Yeah.
Not caring at all about the trauma that his wife and employee have gone through.
But we go to his house and we have to investigate. And I love when we get these little investigation sequences in Trails games where we do have to kind of look around and try to put the clues together. It's not like a super hard mystery game type of anything. It's fairly, sometimes you get it wrong from the multiple choices, but it's not super complex mechanically, but I love these little sequences.
Yeah, it's great. There's a bunch of stuff to go around, interact with in the various rooms of the house. Some of them are relevant, others are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a case of, like, I need to go look at the 3 things it tells me to look at. You actually need to have a minor think about it.
Yeah.
And then, you get the challenge questions at the end, which is another spot to earn bonus BP if you get it all right, which I did because I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Exactly.
And I
So
read
am
the
I.
information that it gave me. And it turns out that it was probably someone who recently visited.
Well, and it was Sky Bandits, we think, because they came in from the second floor. They didn't break in through the front door. They clearly were able to get right to the second floor. And apparently Sky Bandits are like a common type of bandit if you have an airship, which is a very cool name.
I'll admit I did not flag that. I saw the thing where the grappling hook marks on the post, and I assumed they just walked up on the ground and climbed up to the second floor.
That didn't even occur to me.
Because the door was locked. But you're probably right. It is probably they anchored the sky ship and just hovered over it. Not a very conspicuous robbery.
Yeah, and it's daytime. It's not like it was the middle of the night. It's the same day.
The mayor's house is about 20 meters from town center. It's not exactly out of the way.
We also find in the attic like a leaf that Estelle holds on to. A weird little leaf.
I love that energy. They're going around, it's like, yes, there's marks on the balcony. The door did remain locked. There's no sign of forced entry. And then from upstairs, you just hear Estelle go, I found a leaf!
I love it.
Found a leaf.
Found a leaf.
We think the leaf is important.
Turns out it is.
I'm going to hold on to the leaf. She's got good instincts.
So as someone who's there recently, Klaus and Estelle like, well, obviously it wasn't Josette. And Josh was like, well, about that, I'm not so sure.
She's a prestigious high schooler.
And Josh was like, she could just buy a uniform or like sew one. They're not that complicated.
Yeah.
Also, for all we know, that's not even what it looks like, that uniform. We've never seen it.
Not to mention, while you were locking the big rock up in the safe, her eyes were cartoonishly bugging out of her head and her tongue rolled out.
Yeah, she was like Wile E. Coyote.
That was the other thing that tipped me off, says Joshua. It was very subtle, but I caught it just in the nick of time.
Oh, yeah.
So it's probably Josette. Gasp?
Shocking.
A prestigious high schooler that you cannot trust? An untrustworthy high schooler? Who could say?
Never heard of that. Now we have to figure out where they could be, though. And Estelle pulls that leaf out and goes, hey, this leaf doesn't come from everywhere, does it? So we go to ask Shara what trees those leaves come from. And it turns out it's in it's spelled Mistwald. I think it's pronounced Mistwald. Yeah.
It feels like a Germanic kind of name.
Mistwald.
I would say Mistwald. Again, we'll find out. We're as correct as we can be. Oh, I also love that in this whole section of going through the house, Josh is also just immediately a CSI. He pulls out his sunglasses. Yeah. He's doing the CSI Miami thing and everything. Immediately, they started off this job by saying, is it really okay for us to do an investigation of a crime scene? It's our second day of work. They're like, absolutely. And he's like, great, okay. Signs of forced entry.
Handprints on the railing here.
The camera's zooming in. It's very impressive.
Very good job.
He's good at his job, I guess. And Estelle found a leaf, which did turn out to be important. Let's go follow that up. I also noted down that, I'm not sure if it was this point or just before we find out about the robbery, but Shara uncomfortably hits on
I'm
Joshua
trying to believe that she's doing it to fuck with him or fuck with Estelle. I don't think she means it, but it's still uncomfortable. And it does feel weird, especially with the weird way that she gets exoticized, Shara.
They note at the clock tower when they're talking about how long ago it was, because she was trained by Joshua and Estelle's dad, and they mention the age gap, and it's only 5 or 6 years.
She was 11 when Estelle was 4.
So she's a handful of years older.
But I think that was in chapter 1 that they tell us that.
So there's a bit of an age gap, which means she's in like her early mid-20s.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Everyone needs to stop sexualizing these children.
Like, Cheryl, I like you. Please don't do this and be weird. Don't make me feel weird. But Mayor
Yes.
Klaus comes to the rescue with the announcement of the robbery in that moment, so thankfully that got stopped by some banditry. But back to the present. We have to go to Mistwald. There's also some quests that I took care of around here. Like, on the way, there was a monster on the highway that I took out.
You pretty much have to.
I think you can do it earlier, but you have to do it now. Mistwald is also pretty confusing to navigate, but I found some stuff in there. Found a leaf called a bear claw that Father Divine wants, so that's cool. I found a couple of those. I found a chest that had something, I don't remember what. And I found some sky bandits.
Yeah, I ran around the forest. I'd already done a dash through Mistwald previously to do the get medicine ingredients, but I was a little bit under-leveled for the enemies, so I took on a combat, got rocked, and instead just...
There are some tough ones in here.
There are. Luckily, by circling back around to this in the main plot, I was a bit better leveled, so I did just smash a few on my way through because I keep reminding myself grinding is important. Take the battles. You make your way through the forest and find some sky banditos, and they are talking very openly and honestly about exactly how...
They totally stole that jewel.
They totally stole that jewel. They also stole Estelle's dignity and sense of pride in her identity, because Josette... I can't believe that dumb, stupid, idiot, redhead girl.
And at this point, Estelle has the option to either burst in and yell at them or to keep quiet. And obviously you're supposed to keep quiet, but it's impressive that Estelle holds her tongue if you do go with that option.
For like
a second. And then you do burst in and you're like, hey, we're here to arrest you because we're bracers and we have that power. And Josette spins around so that her school uniform turns into an outfit that matches the other bandits. They shit-talk each other and then you fight them and you beat them all up.
A pretty tough fight as well.
Oh yeah, no, it's a rough fight because there's like 4 bandits and the 2 of you. It's definitely rough.
I was skirting the edge for a good chunk of that combat because there are so many participants early on. It still takes like a turn or two to take down the grunts, or at least it did for what level I was at. I'd done a little bit of grinding, but I think I was only level 8 or something at this point. I'd done a little bit of work, not a lot.
I definitely had to revive at some point.
Joshua was on heal duty for most of the fight, which I am seeing the flaw in my strategy of where I place the augments, because having my big damage dealer as my big healer as well is not
it's rough.
Great in that fight. So I've rearranged a bit since. It took me a minute. It was an actually challenging boss fight. I was impressed.
Yeah, but we do take him down because we're the protagonists. We are about to arrest them when gunfire from something bigger than the guns they're carrying shows up. It's an airship. It's a whole airship that can shoot guns. Somebody's in it who looks kind of like Josette and is like, Josette, you okay? And everyone jumps into the airship except Josette, who decides to jump on, like, the legs of it.
She jumps on the foot.
I guess she's like, I have to be able to shit-talk Estelle as I leave, so I'm not going to get safely inside the airship. I'm just going to stand on the foot.
And I fully expected she'd say her line and then the foot would retract up into the ship, because we've already seen... They love to do a custom animation for the airships. But no, it just takes off with her still sitting on the foot, which means either she has to hang on until they get to their new location, which would have to be far away, or they're going to have to do a little bunny hop jump, land somewhere discreetly so she can get off and properly get in the goddamn ship. I did also note that I love the Capua airship's little bomber plane schnoot.
It's so cute.
Like teeth painting on the nose. It's the tiniest, skinniest little nose, so...
Yeah, you do get... Josette drops the name Capua, and then Estelle's like, Capua, and she's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. And also, right at the beginning of the... Like, when they were first sneaking up on them, there was some talk about how Josette came from, like, a rich or aristocratic family, so that's why she could pretend to be a rich high school kid. But Josette kind of brushed that off.
Yeah, she's a fallen noble or something.
But now she's a sky bandit.
Also, when Scheherazade shows up to help, she whips that child.
She does.
She whips Josette with her weapon whip. And it's just like, hey, we're going to arrest you. Whip crack. I know you're not police, but that is brutality. Between that and the hitting on your underage co-workers, it's not a great day for Scheherazade, specifically. She saved the day, but it's like...
Yeah, I'd like to think that she whips, like, the ground next to Josette and not Josette, but I don't think that's what happens, but that's what I'm choosing to believe. I think a lot of the times in JRPGs, when a character has a whip, they're not thinking through the damage a whip actually does, they're thinking it's sexy. They're not thinking about what a whip actually is like as a weapon, because that's a pretty brutal thing to get hit with.
I'll pay it as she's such a good whipstress that she can crack it right in her face without hitting her. That kind of thing. But that's still... We don't need to... traumatize more people today.
But she did talk shit about Estelle. She did say mean things. She hurt Estelle's feelings.
She did.
And then Estella's complaining about how this stupid tomboy, she keeps using the word tomboy to talk shit about her. Anyway, they got away on the airship, so we couldn't arrest them, but we got the gem back, so we can at least report back with that. And we go into report, we get a recommendation letter from the guild, and apparently, in order to become a full bracer and not a junior bracer, you need to get a recommendation letter from every region's guild branch, which makes me wonder, does anyone ever, like, go to a country that only has one guild branch so that they only have to get one recommendation letter? Like, you know when people get their driver's license going to, like, a less busy jurisdiction or whatever?
Or is it, what's that online university, the University of Phoenix? It's the University of Phoenix of becoming a bracer. I was surprised by this. I fully had decided in my head that because the junior bracers ranks are numbered, sort of 9 going up to 1, I don't know if we've explicitly had it said in the main story or maybe some side content or something at this point.
Yeah.
But full bracers are letter ranks. So I figured you get to class 1 junior bracer and then graduate to the lowest letter grade. But I really like this. You get your recommendation letter and they tell you you've got to go to all the branches, which I immediately love. It means we're going to get to explore every corner of this country.
Yes, I love that.
It's not just going to be city names that are just sort of names to throw out there to fill in the picture. I'm actually going to get to see a bunch of different sides of this country. Going to get to run around, see different places, get different recommendations. And it's also nice. It's just like, it's like a victory lap.
And I like also that how it ties into what a bracer is, like that you have to get to know the civilians around your country that you're supposed to protect. Like you're not just somebody who like parachutes in from some police academy, something like that, without knowing the community they're serving, without knowing the people and their problems. Like, no, you actually have to get to know the people that you're going to be working with and for. And I like that idea. So you're gonna have to go around to all these places. I think the junior bracer ranks, I think in practice is a really more mechanical thing, like you get an award for. I don't think that those are actually, like, I think you can not make it to the top rank, but if you get all your recommendation letters, you'd still go and become a full bracer. Which is, I guess, a bit inconsistent, but it makes sense why you'd think that.
I guess I was thinking about it, they would potentially either in the course of this game or 2 games, depending, they would get to the top class 1 based on just the total number of BP you could earn. And then either you'd have a scene graduating or the next game would just start saying that. And then in between we did a few more jobs till we ranked up. But it's nice that there's a bit more kind of put in the work to it. It makes it feel more grounded as an actual job instead of just, we're letter grade people who run around either saving cats or punching monsters. Like,
they don't really tell you what you have to do to get a recommendation letter. It's kind of like something will come up that you'll help with if you do a good enough job. There's not a specific requirement. It's kind of about the discretion of the receptionist, because receptionists at bracer guilds are all really important, as we've discussed. It's up to their discretion. There's also the implication that, like, is there just always going to be a crisis that's going to cause it? Or is there ever going to be, like, a normal thing that it's just like, you were really good at helping people in town with their day-to-day problems? So we got our first one. And then the phone rings. And I think in the, like, very first episode, we talked about where they might have cell phones, but not landline. They do have landlines, it turns out. Estelle does go, that's the telephone, right? So, like, maybe it's not a household thing. Maybe it's only in, like, important buildings. Maybe it's not in every house.
And ring, ring, ring. Who's on the phone?
An airship called the Lynn disappeared. Estelle's like, oh, that's bad. And they go, no, that's the airship your dad was on. And he was on it when it disappeared. Dun, dun, dun.
It vanished mid-flight. Also, we get confirmation, just for no reason, that their dad is 45.
Yes, he's 45.
I know, as though she's reading from the passenger manifest, she says, Bright, Cassius, say he's a bracer and he's 45. The normal things that you list on a flight manifest, which is a person's name, occupation, and current age. It sounds like there's much to do. Also of note, the towns that have bracers guilds that you have to go to for recommendations sure have a lot in common with lists of locations of those other towers we know about that are named after different special septium gems.
Could be something. But that's the cliffhanger we end on. And that's the end of the prologue.
That is officially the end of the prologue, which is titled A Father's Love, A New Beginning.
Yeah. There was a father's love, and this was a new beginning.
It's very exciting. It sets some stakes. We know sort of the shape of the game going forwards. We have a bigger media problem to deal with, which is... Dad disappeared. Oh, and probably those other people. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to see what's happening next. Lots of people were talking about bows this chapter, about stuff going on in bows. I know that the reporters were headed there.
Sky Bandits have been operating there, apparently.
So it sounds like Bose is the place to be.
Well, we'll find out, but you might have some suspicions that are correct. I'm excited to get there.
Oh, are we done already?
For everyone listening who's playing along, our next checkpoint, and I'm going to speak about this in vague terms, but I'm clear. You're going to get to check out an airship at one point, and then there's going to be some cutscenes. When you finally regain control after those cutscenes, we're going to save there, and that'll be our checkpoint for half-ish through Chapter 1.
As you may have noticed, the two halves of the prologue we split up a bit differently. The first half was a lot shorter overall, but did a lot more explaining, so we wanted to take our time with that as well. And then second half of the prologue, action, 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 go, go, go.
So many big rocks, and a small sparkly rock, too.
It was rock central, and now our world is being rocked by the disappearance of our father, which we'll begin to solve next week with the first half of Chapter 1. So we'll see you there. But for now, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Trails Through Trails. You can find us on the Orbital Net at trailspod.online, at trailspod on Blue Sky, Instagram, and X, the Everything app, for as long as it still exists. Or you can send us an email at trailsthroughtrails@gmail.com with any questions, comments, corrections, or compliments. We love all of those. Next episode, as we said, we'll be discussing the first half of Chapter 1 up to exploring the airship. But until then, I've been Matt.
And I've been Lex.
And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye!